Hey, what's up, comrades? Hope you're doing well. We're here to talk about the Magik series, which is Storm and Illyana, and it's a 4-issue limited series that kind of talks about what happened to Illyana when she was like trapped in the Devil Lands for so long. And it begins with issue number 1, obviously, and we see Illyana looking at some crazy pentacle amulet thing that's got these like 3 bloodstones in it. And the sun's rising in the background, and she's remembering the time when she got pulled by Belasco back into the, not astral plane, into limbo, right? And then we see her being like, her soul gets pulled out of her, and Aurora's like Demon Aurora, or the Aurora who's trapped in limbo as well, is trying to fight off Belasco, and she like ages up Illyana's like soul or whatever, and then turns it into a demon and like crushes it down to like a bloodstone and puts it in this thing and talks about how like this is going to summon the Eldritch gods and how she's going to do all this stuff, and she's like laughing and stuff. And then Cat shows up. Who's Cat? Kitty Pryde version. It's a version of Kitty Pryde who got stuck in limbo with Aurora and the rest of them that kind of turn into demons, and she's like a demon cat lady with a sword. And she goes to fight Belasco, but he teleports out of there, and so Aurora grabs Illyana and they all teleport to like Aurora's like sanctuary, which is like this beautiful garden with like a pool and stuff. And then we start getting Illyana like thinking about stuff and remembering things, and she's observing like Cat and Aurora, and she comes out and she calls she tries to talk to Cat as like Kitty Pryde, and she's like, no, I'm Cat now. And then Aurora's like, I'm gonna go in and like fix this part of the soul that was like turned into a demon soul or Belasco. And she goes in there and she finds like the evil Illyana and tries to fight her but can't do it and has to like get released out of there and whatnot. And so then Cat's like, hey, how'd that go? I was like, not well. So then she takes a bath, and Cat and her like argue, and we see that Cat is like has cat eyes and like claws and like all this stuff, but she wears like the sexy outfit to like cover it up. And then Aurora goes and tries to teach Illyana to like become like a sorceress, to like use magical powers and to access the power of limbo, but like in a good, healthy way to like grow things. And they go into like the astral realm and they train and they do magic stuff and they talk, and then like they come back out and it's been like a full year, and it's like, what the fuck? So now she's like a year older. And then some time goes by and Aurora gets attacked by Cat, and then Cat takes Illyana to go train her and try to get her out of limbo, which is going to be the thing that saves her, because she still remembers Illyana being like her best friend forever. So Cat then drags like 7-year-old Illyana like around, and they fight demons and fight monsters, and there's like these teleportation circles that are out and about, and Illyana falls into one, and then she runs into God, what's this guy's name? Sim, I think is his name. Sin. And he's the big guy who fought like Wolverine, and he killed like Illyana's brother in this world. And he grabs her and is about to take her to Belasco, because that's who he serves. And Cat comes along and like stabs him real good, and then jumps through a portal. And then they end up in like this wilderness where she kills like a saber-toothed tiger and like screams into the heaven. And then Illyana sees like her cat visage, and they talk about that and stuff. And then like time goes by. Like it seems like, let's see, so that was a year. So it seems like 6 years are going by, and Illyana just gets trained to be physical specimen, like Cat, like in sword fighting and like survival and like running and exercise. And this, a lot of time goes by. Let's see, I think it's I can never touch, speaks, leaving the knife. I don't know if it's later on. It says 7 years have gone by. That's how she's like a teenager. I'm sure she was a little girl. Oh, here we go. Yet I've aged almost 3 years. They won't believe their eyes. Okay, so then they go to Belasco's Citadel, and they get into a fight with Demon Nightcrawler, who beats him up real good, but then Kitty ends up finally killing Nightcrawler for good, like dragging him into the ground and stabbing him in the back. And then they're headed to, the reason they went back to Belasco's fortress is because that's like where the teleportation out of limbo is, and so Kit's going to try to use her like super powers, like her X-Men powers, to like go through things, because that's how like they use that to travel through time and stuff. So like her powers got a lot more like shenanigans that can do. And so they travel through the thing, and then it's like they reach out to grab, and they see like Kitty and Wolverine and Nightcrawler like from the X-Men series, and Kitty and Cat's like, go reach for them and Kitty will pull you out. And then she reaches up and Kitty grabs her arm, and then no, it's Belasco instead, and he pulls both of them out, and he's like, ah, ha, 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 there's Nightcrawler, you're no better than I, Cat. And Cat tries to fight him, but then he's like, stop, and she has to stop because he has like powers over her. So this whole time he's just been like leading her astray essentially, and then he like officially turns her into like a cat monster instead of just being like kind of a cat woman. And then she like becomes completely subservient. And then he also commands Illyana to like cut herself to create like another blood gem. And she's like, I tried not to, but I did. And then she pours her blood into like the amulet, which corrupts her soul even more. And Aurora's watching this and she like freaks out. She's like, no, what are you gonna do? And so that leads us into issue number 3 of this. And the tale, I think at this point she spends time. So it's correct by evil. I don't know if it says, but it's like some more time goes by, and she's trained to be a sorceress. So she's trained by Aurora. She was trained by Kitty, and now she's trained by Belasco to like summon evil creatures and do things. And then Kat's there, and she creates like a little demon creature. And then Illyana at this point is like a teenager now. She's starting to have like more control over her life and the things that are going on. So she's starting to like, at some point, Kat gets told to chase her, and then she is like running away, and then she like has to blast her to get her out of her room and drives her off, and then she has like nightmares and stuff, and then she finally is like, I'm going to choose something different. Like Belasco uses like evil magic, and I'm going to use good magic like Aurora taught me, because I'd rather have that life. And so she starts trying to create life like an acorn, but then it's like corrupted, so it keeps like exploding out. And then like a ghost form of Aurora shows up, and they talk for a little bit about what she's doing and the fate of Kat and everything else, and like what Illyana has to do if she wants to save her soul and stuff. And then she realizes she can like, these teleportation circles are everywhere, like her, right? Because that's like her mutant power. And so she teleports like her whole bed to like this crazy room, and then she gets crashed into by like the New Mutants. And the mutants are like, hey, it's Illyana, and then they like teleport out of her. And it's from like New Mutants 14, which is like way further along than we've gotten to at this point. So eventually she finds Belasco's like grimoire, but Aurora like warns her not to read it because it's going to cause more problems and it's going to solve. And then she sees like it's almost like the past or something. It's like Aurora, but it's limbo, so everything's like in flux. And so Aurora is like fighting Belasco, and Belasco seems overmatched, but then Aurora like turns into like a demon image and whatnot, and then Belasco's like actually fine, and he's like, I command you, Aurora, something something. And this seems to be like what happened before. And so she tries teleporting again, and then Sin grabs her, and then she blasts him with magic and kicks him through like a portal, so he's gone. And she's that'll distract him long enough. And then she heads down to like Belasco's actual chamber in like the current time. And this time there again is Aurora, like old woman Aurora, like fighting with Belasco, but then Kat sneaks up behind her and claws are real good. And so Illyana like blasts Kat, and then they kind of fight, and she uses like her abilities that Kat taught her when she wasn't like a complete feral beast to like kill her, while else using her magic. And then she goes to talk to Aurora, and Aurora's like super sad, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry this had something something. And then Belasco orders her to like build another gem using like Aurora or whatever, and she's like, no, I will not do that. And then she's like compulsed to do it or something. And then he talks more about like the Eldritch beings are going to invade the real world once he has all 5 blood gems or whatever. And then issue 4 starts off with like a sexy demon Illyana, which is like awesome because Illyana's a banger. Not here. The drawer here is very good. The art here, I mean, but it's not sexy very much. I mean, there's a little bit of like sexy stuff going on. But okay, so then we pick up there, and then Belasco's like, kill Aurora, do this blood gem, yada yada yada. And then she does something instead. She kills Aurora, but at the same time she causes like an earthquake and lightning to strike and all this stuff. And then she teleports out of there with Aurora and like builds her grave. And then she like wanders around in like limbo and gets attacked by like demon versions of like all the X-Men. And then she goes to like, she teleports to like where her parents, but she's still in limbo this whole time. And her parents like reject her, and she's super sad about that. And then like the zombie X-Men show up and like beat the shit out of her and drag her back to Belisco. And then Belisco's trying to like gain control over her. Oh no, this is where and then he creates like a 3rd blood gem, and then she like has had enough of this bullshit. So he like casts her somewhere else where she's like freezing until she like learned how to obey. And then she finds like this big tree, the tree that Aurora like built, but now because she's dead, her whole like refuge is under winter and it's dying and whatnot. And then Illyana creates like a big like silver magic circle, and she keeps trying to create like life, like quality life, but it keeps becoming it keeps getting turned into like corruption or whatever because she's corrupted. And then like more time goes by, and we see her, and she looks like maybe she's like 12, and she's got like an outfit, or maybe it's not that much time. And then she's wearing like a sexy outfit, like the outfit's all torn up and very revealing, which is excellent. And then so she concentrates on more and tries to create more of an acorn, and she's like running out of his steam and feeling sad. And then the oak tree finally like tips over, because like Oro's not there to sustain anymore. And then Illyana kind of freaks out and is super sad about the whole situation. And then she realizes that the oak is Aurora's thing, and like Aurora's belief in life and everything is rooted in the oak tree. And she's trying to replicate somebody else, but it's not her true form. So then she like rebuilds like her strength and her magic circle and summons like the soul sword. And the soul sword keeps coming up a lot. It's very important in the X-Men. So this is like a very pivotal moment when this occurs. And then she's like, all right, I'm going to take this motherfucker out. So then she teleports over to Blasco's manor, and he's talking about getting revenge on Khazar and the Shauna the She-Devil, and he's got these statues of him, and he's like reading in his book, and then Illyana shows up and destroys the statues, and they start fighting, and she's more than a match for him. Like, she beats the shit out of Sin. She like blocks his magic. She like tears up his library, and then she starts growing horns and turning red, and then he's losing his horns and stops turning red. So like she's like taking over his powers and stuff and gaining more strength, and she's like beating the shit out of him. And then she has an opportunity to kill him, but she's like, wait a second, I don't want to be a demon, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, you're a fool, how dare you need to renounce your heritage. Or no, do renounce your heritage. And she's like, no, I embrace it. And he's like, the power absolute, blah blah blah. Then he like teleports out of there. And she's like, I guess I won. So then she saws her amulet with like the 3 bloodstones, and she's like, all right, I got to be careful because 2 more of that and I'm done for. I'm totally donesy. And she talks about like the soul sword, and finally she's like, I'm going to teleport out of here. So she teleports to like the same instance with like when the X-Men left, like in like the time it's been like years, like 7 years, and for the X-Men it's been like a moment, right? So then this is when they pull her out, and she's like got the amulet, and she's like a teenager now. And then she recalls like having actually gone to see her parents since then, and that didn't work out. And then like the X-Men disappeared, but she's been like training and working hard, and how she's kind of like with the New Mutants now, and watching them like have a good time and laugh and play in the snow, and how like she can never have that because of like the terribleness and the darkness and all the things. It's like super dark. It's sad. And then we see her like walking up to them as they're like snowball fighting, and she's like, I wonder if I'll ever be carefree again. It's a wah wah wah. It's a good damn. But yeah, that's the end. Excellent little arc there. Really tragic. And Illyana is an excellent character that I thoroughly enjoy. Not just because she's a demon babe, but also because she's like a tragic figure and has like a very interesting background and relationships to other people. But that's that for the Magik arc. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.